News broke on this story a couple days ago now. Obviously, I'm getting to this a little late, but I still feel it's worth discussing with all of you guys, and I'd love to get your opinions about this situation down in the comments section below on all aspects of this situation. So, for those of you who don't know, and to refresh those of you who do know, Vernon Hargreaves III might be in a little bit of trouble. So what happened? Well, a video was uploaded on an Instagram user's page that showed Bucks cornerback Vernon Hargreaves III smoking something. Now, we don't know what it is. We don't know if it is a cigar. We don't know if it's weed. What we do know is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the NFL are both aware of this situation, and they are both proceeding accordingly. They are investigating it, I believe. So, that's basically what happened. There's really not much more left to it. There has been speculation, obviously. Is it weed? Is it not weed? You know, what is it? But all in all, that's the gist of what happened. Now, a lot of Bucks fans have been speculating on this, and they have been saying a lot of interesting things. You know, he might get suspended, he might not get suspended, but what disciplinary action can we see? Well, it all depends on what happened, what has happened. Well, let's assume that it is weed, okay? Let's just make the worst case assumption here and assume that it is weed for this scenario. I believe that at worst, at absolute worst, you would get a 4-game suspension. At least from the NFL, because without going into great details about the NFL's substance abuse policies, I believe it is, without getting into great detail about the inconsistency of that, usually you tend to see 4-game suspensions, or even to very extreme degrees 6-game suspensions for certain things like this. At minimum, I think a 1 or 2-game suspension would be more so applicable to this situation. I hope I used that word right. But especially considering it's Vernon's, it would be Hargreaves' first offense if he is found guilty, I guess you could say. Yeah, I feel that they'd be pretty lax with his disciplinary suspensions or just disciplinary action. I feel they'd be very not soft, but I feel that they would be very lax with it. You know, speaking of that, you know, talking about guys like Josh Gordon, he got caught multiple times, and his suspension just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. Obviously, the more times you offend the league's policy, the more punished you're going to get. So, obviously, like I said, I don't expect a huge punishment if he is found guilty of this, which, you know, speaking of that, is he guilty? Is Vernon Hargreaves III guilty? Honestly, I don't know. I'm pretty confident in saying that he is not. Vernon Hargreaves doesn't exactly, you know, I don't exactly view him as the type of guy who would kind of make a foolish decision like that to film himself smoking weed. I mean, I think he understands that he is a professional athlete, and he still has a lot of room to grow, and he's still very young into his career, so I don't really think that he would be foolish enough to compromise himself in that way, you know, compromise himself in the way of, you know, oh, let me record a video of myself smoking weed. It looked like it was on a Snapchat. It looked like it was on Snapchat, so I really don't think he'd be foolish enough to do that. Unless somebody ratted him out, then, you know, where did that person get the video from? Who knows? You know, it must have just been it looked like it was from Vernon's personal Snapchat, if you're asking me. But, honestly, I don't think he's guilty. I think he's kind of more straight-laced than that. I think he's smarter than that, you know. I feel he's smarter than to say, like, I'm going to film myself smoking weed and, you know, potentially get myself in a lot of trouble, you know. Now, the next question here is, will he stay on the team? Well, when answering that question, it's a pretty obvious answer. Yes, of course he is. The Bucks have a lot of stock in Vernon, former first-round pick, and I know a lot of Bucks fans have been out there saying, like, get rid of him, fire him, he's a bust, he's stupid, get him out of this team. I don't agree with that at all, and here's why. One, it's not a big deal. Honestly, it's not a big deal. I just like discussing stuff like this with you guys, but honestly, in my opinion, it can potentially be a big deal. Or it can potentially be a pretty bad thing for us. depending on how long his suspension would be if he gets one. But honestly, the Bucs are paper thin at cornerback right now, okay, guys? We have Brent Grimes, we have Vernon Hargreaves III, we have Ryan Smith, we have Javian Elliott. That's not exactly the most impressive list of cornerbacks I've ever seen. What about you guys? Honestly, I'm honestly the only guy on there that I'm like really like, that's our guy. You know, he's pretty good. Is Brent Grimes, and the other guy I think that is good, at least average to good, is Vernon Hargreaves. And he was coming into his own in the nickel role. He has been injured these past couple of seasons, but he was finally coming into his own last year in the nickel role. And the coaches, especially at this past owners meeting, they were really saying like, he's our nickel guy. He's really good in the nickel. You know, we're going to use him in the nickel a lot. They used the word nickel a lot in their interviews. It was weird. But the point is that, you know, the coaching staff believes that Vernon Hargreaves can do good. And, you know, for as much crap as I have given Vernon Hargreaves in the past, I don't think I've been too bad with it, but I have said that he's been disappointing to a certain degree, especially for his pedigree as a former first-round pick. But I'm willing to give him another chance. You know, I'm on the Vernon Hargreaves board, I guess you can say. You know, I'm back on board with it. You know, I'm back on board with all things of this team, so I'm willing to forgive and forget, and Vernon Hargreaves is part of that, you know, and I think that he's far and above the second best cornerback on our team, and if he has a good role in the nickel spot, then obviously he's not going anywhere. The only, you know, maybe you get a guy, you pair him next to Brent Grimes, you have Vernon Hargreaves the third in the nickel, and that's not bad under most circumstances. And he's really, if you really think about it, he's one of the more sure, he's at least one of the more sure-handed long-term options at the Bucs cornerback position right now, because Brent Grimes, he's probably going to be gone after next season. I don't know what to think about Ryan Smith right now. And, well, I do know what to think about Ryan Smith, but I'm going to try and be positive. And I don't put a lot of stock into Javian Elliott, as some other Bucs fans do. It's nothing against Javian Elliott, but I just feel that he might only be a 4th or 5th cornerback for his entire career. And that's not bad, but that's just kind of where I view him. Now, he's not going anywhere. So, if he is suspended, worst case scenario, Vernon Hargreaves III suspended 4 games. You know, headlines everywhere. Suspended 4 games to start the season, you know. What happened with Doug Martin, you know, for his PEDs, I think it was. Yeah, his PED suspension. Let's say, worst case scenario, he is suspended 4 games, or he's suspended 1 game, or quite frankly, we do need some cornerback help. And this I feel really ramps up the Bucs' need, I guess you can say, at cornerback, because we might not have Vernon Hargreaves III for the first 4 games of the season, you know? That's 1/4 of the season. That's kind of a big deal, and we put a lot of stock into Vernon. So, if he's suspended, what can we do to replace him? Well, obviously, you can think to the draft. Obviously, the Bucs might draft a cornerback or 2. Even now, you could draft him. They might go as early as round 2 or round 3 for a cornerback. You know, it just kind of depends on what they want to do. Maybe a trade back with the Bills. That's honestly what you might be hoping for if you're a Bucs fan, is maybe you're hoping for a trade back. You can pick up some cornerback help possibly, or some secondary help, then you can pick up a running back, and then in rounds 2, 3, and so on, you just get more cornerbacks, you get more defensive linemen, you know, you get more offensive linemen, you just work on that. That's kind of what you're kind of hoping for if you're a Bucs fan right now. Maybe not, but I mean, me personally, I still like where we are at pick number 7, but, you know, I've seen a lot of Bucs fans hoping for a trade down, and maybe that becomes more of a urgent issue now in terms of trading down. But in free agency, let's talk about free agency replacements right now. DRC is a big name that a lot of Bucs fans have been talking about lately. They want him to sign and play in the nickel, and I don't believe that's going to happen. DRC has made it very clear that he doesn't want to play in the nickel. The Giants asked him to, and he said, release me. I don't want to play in the nickel. So if we were to sign Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, that is, he would be playing on the outside. So that doesn't necessarily fix our nickel problem. The next name that would come to my mind is Jeremy Lane, you know, former Seattle Seahawk. He played some pretty good games before he had a pretty bad run of injuries. He's only 27, so you can still have him for a good chunk of time. And he's not too bad of an option either, but you do have to you do have to check and see if he is healthy and he can play. Next is a name that a lot of Bucs fans might not be too excited about, but it could very well happen that we bring this person back, and that is Robert McClain. He did visit with the Arizona Cardinals, and he's weighing his options right now, but if you want my opinion, I feel that he is more likelier than not going to come back to the team. And I feel that he can play in the nickel and play on the outside as well. But again, if Vernon Hargreaves is gone, just bring in another guy to, you know, maybe play him in the nickel. Honestly, Jamian Elliott would probably be that nickel guy. So if you just need some more cornerback help, you know, maybe you need some better options on the outside or in the nickel, you know, just more bodies. Robert McClain's an option as well. Judah Barima, no, nobody really likes Judah. Judah Barima was one of my favorite Bucs players. Like, he was, honestly, like, he was a guy I was rooting for so hard. I really hope the Bucs bring him back. He's kind of on, like, some... The Bucs, I believe they waived him. I don't think they waived him, but I do, in my opinion, I hope they bring him back when he's fully healthy. I think he's kind of injured right now, but I really want them to bring Judah Barima back. I love that guy, and I would love to have him back. He was kind of, you know, before he got injured, Jude was really forming a role for himself, not as just a nickel guy, but kind of like he was doing pretty good on the outside as well. He was forming a decent role on the team, and I think Jason Light will remember that and say, like, hey, you fully healthy? All right, cool. Why don't you come on back, and we'll let you have a training camp, you know, and I think he will impress. And finally, the last option, he played for the Buffalo Bills last year, and that is Leonard Johnson. He had a pretty decent season with the Bills last year, and he could come back to Tampa. I feel they might give him a chance. I think he wasn't here for Light's regime, but he might come back. Again, he kind of had a little bit of a better... He had a better career. He had a better season last year than most seasons he's had with the Bucs. So we could see him come back and maybe play on the outside or play in that nickel while Hargreaves is gone. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. You know, I think I've gone through all the questions here. You know, what happened? What discipline could we see? Is he guilty? Will he stay on the team? And if he is suspended, how can we replace him? So let me know what you guys think about this whole situation down in the comments section below. What do you think will happen to Vernon Hargreaves III? And who do you think we should sign to help out with the cornerback position now that he could potentially be suspended for the first fourth of the season? That'd be a big deal if that happened. But do you think he's guilty? Do you think he's innocent? Do you think this is even a big deal? You know, just let me know down in the comment section below. And hope you guys all enjoyed. And as always, I will see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.